You are listening to Three Kitchens, a member of the Alberta Podcast Network. Locally grown, community supported. Join your hosts, Aaron Walker, Heather Dyer, and Sarah Somasundaram for some good old home cooking.
At ATB, we make banking work for you. With expert and practical advice in everyday banking and investment planning expertise and management services with ATB Wealth, you can be confident that you're making smart choices when it comes to your money.
We have a history of doing what's right for our clients, especially when times are tough, because ATB was built to help Albertans.
For more information, visit atb.com. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah. I'm hosting this episode today.
Hello, Sarah.
So I think we're all feeling it.
We are.
Yeah, we were discussing that.
Panic is setting in.
Christmas.
Christmas is upon us.
I always like enjoying the season. I hate all the prep up towards it.
Oh,
Yeah.
You feel like you've got to deliver something to everyone.
yeah.
And
It's going to be perfect.
This year, I just want to do stuff for the kids. And so I have totally neglected thinking about anybody else in my family.
Yeah.
So I've only really put thought and effort into the kid stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're the easiest to please out of the bunch. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. All right. Sarah, what are you cooking for us? We should
What
talk
am I
about some food.
cooking? What am I cooking?
You've been keeping us like in the dark.
It's not.
Yeah.
I feel like the
I think I might have-
anticipation is so great that
Yeah, I think this might be like a wah wah because your anticipation is so high right now. And this is actually a very basic recipe.
Basic.
Basic.
I don't think so. We all know
It never
Sarah.
is. She says that. And it's so simple.
But there's just 25 more steps and do it to taste.
Okay, there, whisk
Great.
till your arm falls off. Don't you talk.
Hey, I don't pretend it's easy though. I tell you about my pain and that this was an awful idea.
Okay, we're cooking something called Roti John. And it's a really simple dish. And my dad used to love this dish. It is a really simple dish. You can make it complicated if you'd like. And it's from Singapore, Malaysia. Singapore and Malaysian recipes are not something that, we love. We love that food, but that's another, I don't want to say complicated bunch of recipes, but it's very specialized. But this one, anyone can make, Roti John. And don't give me funny looks when I say anyone can make it, because anyone can make it. I promise you. And it's not something that I ate a lot of, but my dad and I would go to the store and I would pick something else on the menu and he would get the Roti John. It's basically an English egg baguette, but it's got an Indian flair.
Egg baguette. Like a baguette with egg in it? What are you talking about?
I don't know what you mean. Egg baguette with
Of
Indian
egg on
flair.
a baguette, basically. Like an omelet on a baguette.
Oh.
But it's got like an Indian sort of flair to it. And you'll see what I mean, because I had to call a friend of mine for this because I have not had this since I was a kid.
Okay.
And I couldn't quite remember what was authentic, like which recipe on Google would be authentic. So I had to call in a favor with a friend of mine, Paul, very good, very, very good cook. He's someone who's taught me a lot about cooking. He's had a restaurant himself, very successful one.
Okay.
But let's go hear some more about the Roti John.
All right.
Okay.
Hello, Paul Kaller.
Hello. Greetings from Singapore. Sunny Singapore.
Sunny, good food Singapore. Right. The one thing that you don't mess with Singaporeans is food.
I agree.
You had a restaurant,
Called Blue Box Cafe.
Box Cafe. I heard some great things about the place.
Fried chicken burgers.
That's right.
I had chicken and waffles, of course, naturally, because I already have chicken, right?
That's the best way to have it. Yeah, and you served it with sometimes with the Singaporean flair with the Hainanese chicken rice, which for
That's
you
right,
listeners
yes.
is a chicken flavored rice. It is so good.
Yeah, it's heavenly.
And,
It is fatty, but it's great. Yeah.
It's good fat, just good fat. That's how I justify things, Paul.
Good
And then get
carbs.
really stretchy pants. So listen, I was sitting here and watching Facebook videos, and one of them was best sandwiches around the world. All of a sudden, it pulls up Singapore, Malaysia. Roti John. And I'm like, I forgot all about this dish. My dad used to love Roti John. And then I was like, I'm going to contact Paul because Paul would know which recipe would be the most authentic. And if he had any variations on it, he would know what to do. You had a little backstory on why it is called Roti John.
It started during the British occupation in Singapore, and some guy had set up a stall near the base, so the soldiers would come and eat. So I don't know who called whom John, but there's two sides of this story saying that the British soldiers, they were called Johns by the locals because a Caucasian male, and like the most commonly used name is John, right? John Doe, John Wick. Another version of the story, it says that it's the soldiers who call the locals Johns because they had trouble pronouncing their names.
Right.
So therefore, a sandwich, a roti, made for them, something to suit their palate. This I'm talking about the late 60s. That it carried on. You know, a lot of people have laid claim to the Roti John. Yeah,
Well, it's my grandpa that started it. His name was John. No, I'm joking. Don't start rumors.
Roti John, it's like a blank canvas. Add more stuff, jazz it up. Can't go wrong. Okay, roti is an Asian word. Bread.
Bread,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, even the Jamaicans use it too, roti.
Right. We always think it as flatbread here. Right?
No.
It's any kind of bread, isn't it?
Any kind of bread is a roti.
And in this case, it's baguette.
The baguette is sliced lengthwise, so you get two flat sides.
Right.
I'm thinking even a focaccia would work.
Smart.
As
Okay.
long as you got that crust, get
Right.
that crunch. You beat eggs, chop some onions, chili peppers, salt, pepper. There's two ways of doing it.
Mhm.
What you get in the stalls is they would beat this egg mixture up, and then they would pour it on the flat pan
Like a griddle.
or a skillet, you know, and
Mhm.
then they would place the bread on top. And then the way I would do it is I would spread the egg mixture on the bread first. It's not really soaked up like as you would a French toast.
Just want to get that surface wet
Covered,
with
yeah,
that egg
yeah.
mixture. So do you fry up the onions and the chilies before, or do you mix it all into the egg first?
Can, but you don't need to until it's cooked, and then you flip it over and fry the crusty side. There's a little bit just to get the browning.
The extra zhuzh.
Yeah, it's juice. Yes.
But then some people put meat in this.
I spoke to you about how it's done traditionally without the meat. As time went on, this dish evolved. The inclusion of minced mutton or lamb, a red meat. But this cannot be raw.
Right. You got to cook that first before you put it into the egg mixture.
Yeah.
You don't want to get sick, guys.
Yeah, you don't want to get sick. You know, so it's minced meat. You're going to add coriander powder, some turmeric powder,
Oh,
salt,
okay.
pepper. So you get that flavor. Once you cook this, you just got to beat the meat in it, as bad as it sounds.
Don't worry. We've said this.
So you beat the meat in the mixture. You add that on and add to the bread, and then same principle. The idea here is you got to make sure there's enough egg to cover this thing.
That's
so
right.
although you can see bits of the ingredients in it, there should be enough egg covering it, almost like an omelette. So you take it out, and traditionally it's served with ketchup, but over time they have included mayonnaise as well, and they tend to overdo it. Like they drench the entire.
Okay, yeah. It's
It
too
takes
much. Overkill.
Yeah, it's too much. Yeah, overkill. Your roti john should be good enough to eat on its own, right? The sauce that is traditionally served with is a mixture of ketchup, chili sauce, and some vinegar.
When you say chili sauce, what you mean is that sweet Thai chili sauce, right?
Yeah, almost like a Thai. Sorry,
Thai
ketchup,
is a little sweeter than now Singaporean
Yeah.
version, but I think here it's the Thai one is very popular.
It worked fine as well.
It is a very simple dish. Paul has explained what the basic stuff is to go into it, but really you can do whatever you want to make it your version of the Roti John. So any tips? Sardines are not on the table because one of my co-hosts does not like sardines.
You could use tuna.
Sure, so tuna is not on the table as same person who doesn't like sardines, doesn't like tuna.
The other common meat that's used in it is chicken.
This sounds a little too exquisite for Calgary because we don't have fresh seafood here, but you had suggested crab meat.
So what I was suggesting to you, making it more seafood friendly, you can buy those canned crab, right? It's already cooked, it's already processed, and use the base, which is eggs, onions, chili peppers. You can dice some tomatoes really fine in it. Same thing, crack some peppers, salt, and then add this crab on.
Yeah, beat the meat.
Beat the crab meat. I think you can dress it differently.
Right.
You could use dill, squeeze some lemon.
Okay.
Instead of using the traditional mixture, you could use tartar sauce instead.
Perfect.
I used to cut the bread into slices as you would Italian dish.
A bruschetta.
Bruschetta, yeah. That would give you a bit like a more bite size. And this time you would cook both sides of the white part of the bread, not the crust.
That would actually go well with the crab meat.
It will go with crab meat, yes.
Yeah. It's almost like a little crab cake or an hors d'oeuvre on a baguette. Yeah, getting some good ideas, Paul.
Or add something new to it. It's always the same stuff, and the same drenching of sauces.
Right.
Even adding tomatoes is not actually my idea. I got it from a guy who actually served his Roti John by adding tomatoes, and he told me this, my Roti John is special, because I add tomatoes. Look, and then he diced up the tomato
just
fresh.
To prove it to you.
Just to prove it. Look, I am beating it into the meat as well.
Now he's beating tomatoes. Oh my. The possibilities are endless, right?
Endless, yes. But nobody takes it to the next level. Nobody thinks of making a vegetarian version of it, maybe with the egg white and less sinful version.
Not egg white. No, that's going too
that movie
far.
work?
Paul, I can't get on board with that. No, I mean, I can get on board with vegetarian. That's as far as I go.
Try a few variations of it.
It just kind of reminds me of the time when you were trying to perfect your Jamaican patty, which I can't wait for people to try it. You were trying to do something with the crust. I remember that morning, and it was your night.
Yeah.
I was actually making the crust here and taking pictures, and I'm like, I think you got to do it this way.
Yeah. I remember, yes.
Well, for anyone who knows Paul, he's starting a new chapter. I know that it's going to involve food, and I know it's going to involve success.
Stay tuned next week.
Stay tuned.
I'm moving to North America. Initially, we were in Jersey for 4 years. We're moving back.
So yeah, you're moving to Colorado. So it's really close to us.
That's what you tell me. I'm getting excited for them. Hang out.
No, you just you get on the Rocky Mountains and then you just walk down the road.
My idea is to rework the cafe over there.
Yeah.
The Box Cafe, and I would like to do more Asian fusions.
I would love to see that. And I would love to see Indian influence in that. South Indian, especially.
Yeah, especially so underrated and underrepresented.
And so damn good. It's just not convenient for people. And I think it needs to be shown that it can be convenient.
Yeah. And the best person to do it
is you. No, you. I'm going to try to make Roti John the traditional way, and then I'm going to make it the Paul way, the Chef Paul way. Good luck with your move, Paul. Good luck with your new endeavors. I really look forward to you guys living closer to us.
Thank you, Sarah, for having me and listening to my banter. I hope I was some help.
Always. Thank you, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that he had mentioned was traditionally it was a vegetarian dish when it started. But so what makes it have this Indian flair or the South Indian flair is the chilies that you put into it. So when you get invited to an East Indian family's house for dinner, I don't know how this is done. There are over 10 dishes laid out on the table. And one of the things that usually is on the table is an omelette. And the omelette always has green or red chilies in it. And it changes the flavor of it. And it's something that when I have it with those chilies, it takes me back to that memory of, oh, this is like an Indian omelet. Because that is always the characteristic of an omelet served by an East Indian family.
Do you have any contacts, families out there who want to invite us to dinner?
No,
I would love.
Invites me over for dinner. Hint.
I really would like that. 10 dishes.
10 dishes, the house is
Big
clean,
spread.
and they've got big smiles on their faces. And I'm like, how?
Quite incredible. Quite incredible.
So I am, of course, a big meat lover. So my traditional, when I said I was going to do the original recipe, I am going to use meat in it. I think I'm going to use lamb.
Ooh.
And yes, it's been bought. And it's in my freezer.
Can I just say, since we started doing this,
Mhm.
my lamb intake has increased greatly.
Mm.
And that has increased my happiness in life because I love lamb.
Yay.
But it was
Yay,
never
yay.
something that I don't know, I wasn't sourcing it, I wasn't getting it, I wasn't eating it enough.
Right.
Now I eat lamb way more and I love
Right.
it.
It is a beautiful thing.
I love it so much.
Yeah. It's a nice alternative to beef, right? Like it's not just one kind of red meat that you're eating all the time. It's something different. It's got a distinct flavor and but you can make this with whatever red meat, as you said, or chicken, or sardines, or tuna. Heather's like, no. And the other thing he did mention also was that cheese is on the table for this one. So you can put cheese. That's been something that is done in Singapore now when they're trying to kind of introduce new kind of flavors and combinations for Roti Johns.
Okay.
I don't know if I want to do cheese. I'm not sure. Just because I want to keep this, no matter where I go with this, I want to keep this, like I want to have an Indian flair to this.
Mm-hmm.
Either way.
Mm-hmm.
What happens here is I'm getting that lamb baguette, the lamb egg one, Roti John, and then I am going to do Paul's idea with the crab. But where I take it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not completely sure as yet.
Ooh. So it's just going to come out of whatever inspires you when you walk into the kitchen that day.
That's it.
Oh, I love it.
Come down to that. I think it's going to come down
Yay.
to that. And
See, it's just a simple recipe. You just have to go into the kitchen and make what inspires you that day.
yes,
I for one appreciate that she's kind of winging it because
I love
that
that.
speaks to me.
Yeah.
Speaks to my heart.
You know, I've started winging
I
it
love
more. Thank
Yeah.
you, Heather, for your positive winging it influence.
MacGyver.
It's amazing what you can pull out of.
I was
going
going
to
to
say your ass, but it's nicer in the kitchen to say the air.
Yeah. Maybe pulling food out of your ass isn't the
Yeah, not
greatest
in the kitchen,
expression
no.
to be using on a cooking podcast.
The pantry.
There have been times when I've had just a few ingredients out and I've said, I'm not thinking about what I'm cooking until I walk in the kitchen. And of course that makes my family really upset because my kids are like, what's for dinner? And my husband's, what are you making with this? And I'm like, I don't know yet. Food, dinner. And then I walk in there and just kind of like, da, 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 da. And it's really cool
See,
what you can make.
The difference between you and I is that you have planned that you're gonna wing it. I literally have forgotten to think about dinner until it's 4:30 and I'm like, shit, I need to feed people. What have I got and what can I do with it? And it's like a mad panic. You're just like, this is going to be fun. I'm going to come up with something and I've taken things out and I've got like
So how do you
halfway
do
to winging it.
when you do something like that? How do you defrost your meat in time?
Well, like if I haven't actually
It's
taken
no
something,
answer.
Meat panic. She just puts her panicked hand
No.
on the meat and it just melts.
there's a couple
She
of
sits on.
things. Sometimes, depending what it sits on it. Oh my god, what am I, a chicken?
We're talking about asses, so I don't know.
True enough, Sarah.
This is going
Okay.
so far off the rails from the Roti John. It's amazing. Sometimes things can go in the Instant Pot. You
Yeah.
can
Okay.
thaw, like you can go from rock hard frozen chicken breasts or thighs to like shredded chicken in 20 minutes.
No pressure cooker. You put the pressure cooker.
Yeah.
load
The
on,
instant,
okay.
like pressure cooker can cook things really from frozen really fast. Or I'll do, if I absolutely haven't taken anything out, I'll take out fish because it thaws fairly
Right.
quickly. That's when we have fish because I'm like, oops, I didn't plan. And something bigger is not going to thaw.
Okay, so yes, I do plan my wing it day. I cannot totally escape the planner in me,
Yes.
but I used to never even have a wing it day. So, I mean, baby
She's
steps, Heather.
evolved.
My work here is done. I have somehow had some
And
influence.
continuing.
And my next job will be eating Roti John because I am all over this. I love the idea of this.
I really like the idea that it is really supposed to get crispy on sides.
Yes.
Yeah, so and then just with his crab version or ideas of the crab Roti John.
Are you going to be using crab or you know how you can get like the imitation crab and it's actually
No, I'm not using
pollock?
the imitation.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so actual crab.
I'm gonna try to look for canned crab. I
you can buy it.
Never have. Okay, good, perfect, good.
We used to stuff mushroom caps with it. It's really tasty.
I do want to also have like a little bit of an Indian flair to that because I just want to keep this like okay, so it's got that Western and the Indian sort of meld. Right?
So I feel like the spice pantry is going to come into this.
Yes, but I want to keep it simple. So that people don't have to go to specialty stores and start
famous last words.
Oh my God.
I hope you do because I really want to make this. I already know that I'm going to want to make this. So I hope you keep it simple enough for those of us who want to recreate.
The other thing that I did want to say from memory is that when my dad used to get the Roti John, wherever we got it from, they used to have something, it was like a curry, like a lack of a better word to describe it, it was like a curry au jus. So it's like a watery curry dip. And the reason why these places had them was there were many different sort of things on the menu that you would dip into this curry au jus, right? So it would be like a roti called prata and murtabak and Roti John. So
that sounds delicious. Like you could dip your beef dip,
that's
your
right.
beef dip sandwich into it. That would be so good.
And that was a really fantastic kind of extra.
I'm quite curious to see how this egg on the bread frying thing goes. Just based on because the first thing I did after listening to you and Paul talk was look at some pictures. Because I think I'm going to want to make this too.
Stop putting me down for saying simple, but it is kind of simple, right? I mean, it's on a griddle, it's egg, it's whatever you want to put in it. That's what he said. In the end, it's whatever you want to put in it, right? I mean, you can make it as simple or complicated as you want, but the two ingredients that have to go into that egg outside of salt and pepper are onions and chili peppers.
Right. So what recipe are you using to make your baguette?
So I have looked at a whole bunch of recipes and I'm not sure.
You're making your own baguette?
No, I'm not. Oh, you. I didn't get that.
She fooled me. I was like, wait a sec. Hey, you could.
You could. My own baguette.
Come on. If it's so simple. No.
You have time to bake a baguette.
I have time to bake.
It's not Christmas season or anything. You've got time.
Well, when is the last time you guys baked a baguette?
Not like you have a puppy and a house guest and a and a holiday that is the be all end all of the year.
And the fact that I don't know how to bake a baguette. No idea.
It's simple, I'm sure.
It's a really simple recipe. Okay, sorry, Sarah. I'm sorry. I had to.
That's okay. That was good. A good pep me up this morning. So, okay, I will get to it.
Right?
I want that for lunch. Can you make it this morning? Because I want it for lunch today.
Hello and welcome.
My name's Joshua.
And I'm Grayson.
And together we host Epic Podcast, Emergency Preparedness in Canada.
On the show, we explore disasters and their management from a uniquely Canadian perspective.
Whether it's our history.
Most people in Halifax don't know what the cargo is. And then whammo, vessel explodes.
Our society.
So we can't really address disasters without looking at who has the decision-making power.
Or our hazards.
It's virtually impossible for us to provide any advance warning for a landspout tornado.
We've got something for everyone because when it comes down to it, disasters are everyone's business.
Visit our website at epicpodcast.ca, follow us on Twitter at epic__podcast, or subscribe to the Emergency Preparedness in Canada podcast on your favorite app.
All this and more on the next episode of Epic Podcast. Current, relevant, Canadian.
So let's talk about the simple recipe.
Simple Sarah.
Simple Sarah. It doesn't really apply, but
no, it doesn't actually sound very nice.
No.
That's kind of neat. Sarah the simpleton. No.
Simple Sarah made a simple recipe.
Sarah's
Was it
simple
simple?
recipe.
Let's find out.
So let's find out. Roti John.
First Roti John that I made was the traditional Roti John, but then I did something a little different at the end to dip it in with. So it was really simple. I told you it was going to be simple. I went to T&T and I bought banh mi baguette. Do you guys know the Vietnamese? They call Vietnamese sandwiches, or what do they call Vietnamese? Vietnamese subs. I bought that sort of baguette because I thought that would be perfect for this recipe because it's not too crusty and hard.
A French baguette would have been too crispy.
I think it would have been too crunchy, right? It would have been hard to eat and kind of messy. So I went and got those banh mi baguettes. If you don't want to go to T&T and get those baguettes, you can find smaller, sort of baguette-ish, French British kind of subs at Safeway and Superstore and at your regular stores. So I would say, let it just be a little softer. In the banh mi case, it was very airy inside. So I really enjoyed that texture.
You can also sometimes get partially baked baguette where you just throw it in your oven for the last 15 minutes or something. And then and then you can kind of control the crisp and whatnot.
So where do you get those things?
I used to just get them at Co-op.
Okay.
So I don't know if Safeway or Superstore have an equivalent. I haven't really looked for them.
Okay. And would they be in the bakery or would they be in a frozen section?
Isn't that a good question? There's usually a little frozen case near the bakery.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure at Superstore there's one, and they have like baguettes and all kinds of things. And I've never really stopped to look at those, but I have
partially baked and then frozen so that you can take them home and make it seem like I baked this bread when you only just tossed it in your oven for 15 minutes and didn't think about anything else. So
I love
that's another
that
way
idea.
to do it. So
because then you could do it less crispy on the outside.
You can control the crisp.
Control it. Control freaks want to control the crisp of their bread.
Perfect for people like me.
Pick your bread the way you like to eat the bread, right? It just has to be baguette-ish. Baguette-ish. That's a word. And then go get your ground or minced or ground meat that you want to add to it. You're not adding a lot into this egg mixture, so just, keep that in mind. It's a lot like what Heather made with the Vietnamese pancakes. There wasn't a lot of filling going into it because what you want it to be mainly is the omelette, the egg.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And with the minced or the ground lamb, in my case, I added salt, pepper, coriander powder, and turmeric, and very little of everything, right? Because it was very little meat that I was cooking up. And I cooked that up with sliced onions. And so that was one of the things that was going to go into the egg. I did dice up some tomatoes and I had sliced up some green chilies as well. I tried to take some seeds out so it wouldn't be too spicy.
No, it was not.
Nah, it was all good.
And then I put all of that into the egg mixture and basically threw that on the griddle, put the baguette on top. That was it. I really fried it up over high heat because I really wanted that kind of like, I wanted it to be crispy, right, on both sides. And then when I turned it over, I put some butter on the pan and then I fried up the non-egg side of the baguette, I guess. And I took a spatula and I kind of pressed it into the griddle so that it would have an extra crisp into it. I gave it to you guys without doing the second side. And I knew that by the time it came to you, it wouldn't be crispy enough. So that was something that I asked you guys to do on your end. But if you're
did you put like a ketchup in there? There was like a red. Okay, was it ketchup or was it
chili or
something? What was it?
So you have the baguette now, and you've got the egg on top of the baguette, right? The omelet. Paul had mentioned that there was a traditional kind of sauce that went on it, which was half what we call in Singapore as chili sauce, but in Canada, it's sweet Thai chili sauce. And you can find this everywhere.
Yeah.
So I did half chili sauce, half ketchup. And I mixed it up. And then I sort of put that over.
Between us, we got it, Erin. You said ketchup and I said chili.
Yet again, it just takes the two brains to combine to get the final.
That's right.
And then I just wanted to do a little extra because this was simple, so why keep it simple?
Oh, see, she's admitting she couldn't keep it simple.
Actually, I have a simple version of what I did. I had a bone marrow. I have a whole bunch of bone marrow in my freezer because I cannot live without those. And what I did was I took garlic, ginger, tomatoes, onions, curry leaves, and green chili, and I fried it up and I ground it into a curry paste. I made what I would call like a curry au jus, some sort of dip that you could dip the baguette into. And so when I was doing this, I suddenly went, I could have kicked myself for not just going to the store and buying a curry paste right off the shelves, depending on what you like. It even could be a Thai, like a red Thai curry paste, and just making it the simple way, right? Frying it up and then just adding some water, letting that simmer. I added some coconut milk at the end just to give it a different kind of flavor. And then I gave that to you with the lamb Roti John for you to dip into. So let's talk about that one first. What did you think?
Okay, it's confession time. I told Sarah this already, but it's kitchen confessional over here. Hey, you know what? We should do that. We should invite anybody listening, email us at threekitchenspodcast@gmail.com and confess your kitchen sins, and we will give you your penance and absolve you. Okay.
You have been forgiven.
Yes. I'm not joking. Do it. It would be fun. We'll read it out. Okay. So my confession is that I had my phone charging in another room and I was doing stuff and I went to eat my Roti John and I didn't see Sarah's instructions about frying it the one side. So I just ate it as it was. And I can confirm it was not crispy, but it was damn delicious. So I did not care that it wasn't crispy. Yeah.
Well, I did pay attention to Sarah's instructions. Although I had no time to cook up the food or do anything when you dropped it off. So I wrapped up the bag as tight as I can and just shoved it in the fridge and was like, God, I hope whatever's in there survives the good tomorrow. So the next day I came home starved. Oh yes, Sarah's Roti John.
One of the best perks of this job.
I love. I told you in the last episode, just meet me and make me lunch. Well, it was exactly like that. So like I got out my cast iron pan because I wanted it to get nice and hot and crispy. And I put in a very generous serving of butter.
That's my girl.
Yep. I'm learning. And fried up both sides. And I did, so because it had sat in the fridge, I also fried up the side that the egg was on. So I just kind of took it apart and I was like, is there even lamb in here? Because there was so little of lamb. I was expecting more lamb, but that's okay. And so fried up both sides, put it together, delicious.
Yeah.
It was good. So yummy. I have to confess, I didn't really think that the au jus sauce added much.
Okay.
So I had some of it with and some of it without. And I was like, I don't know, which I feel bad now because you went and made that effort to make your curry paste.
She made the curry paste, Erin.
I know. So it was.
I really enjoyed it. I like dipping a sandwich.
I like dipping. See, I think it's about personal taste, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. There you go.
So that was the traditional Roti John. So I passed.
Delicious.
Simple.
Oh yeah.
It was simple.
For sure.
And if you want to make that au jus sauce, just go to the store, get the paste. The second one I decided to do was suggested by Paul, and it was a crab version. So I went and I got cans of crab, easy to get. And what I did when I took the crab out, I put it into a bowl. I drained it. I made sure that all the juices were squeezed out. And then I put a little bit of lemon on it, again, because for me, seafood should not smell like seafood. I'm just particular with
food,
that.
not smell it.
Yeah. And then it was the same thing, except in this case, I did not fry up any onions. So I took that crab, I put it into the egg mixture. I put in raw onions and then diced up tomatoes and the green chilies and salt and pepper. And I just fried it up that way. I just thought maybe the rawness of the onions would sort of cut well with the crab. It was just my take on it. Again, you can do whatever you want. This is like, right? This is a canvas. Your baguette is a canvas, blank canvas. And then I had some mayo. I put some salt into the mayo. I had maybe a quarter teaspoon of curry powder, not a bag, a quarter, not half bag, a quarter teaspoon of curry powder in it, with some dill and some lemon. And that was the dip or the sauce for the crab Roti John. And also another difference with this Roti John was instead of doing lengthwise, I went crosswise. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
slices of baguettes into little
slices,
like sort of round circle of bread.
Right. I fried up the one side with the egg, and then on the other side you put butter down and you fry up the other side as well with the butter, right? And you can do garlic butter in this case. I think that would have gone really well now that I think back on it. I think a nice flavored butter would be delicious.
Crying tiger butter?
Crying tiger butter.
Oh, put that shit on everything.
Yes.
Anyway, I was going to say your discs that you made with the crab. So after I finished the first one, I couldn't eat more. So I saved those. I was like, oh, this fried up really good and easy. I'll save these for an after school snack because my son always likes when Sarah cooks food and delivers it to our house. And so when he came home, I was like, well, guess what? I have food from Sarah for us to have. And he was like, yes. So unfortunately, he ate one, but just as he finished it and he loved it, he bit into a chili seed. So, and he was like, this is like an extra hot, crunchy thing. I was like, uh-oh, you got a seed. And he's like, oh, but he loved it. He really enjoyed it. And that mayonnaise, at first I ate 2 of those little slices without the mayonnaise. And then I was like, oh my God, there's mayonnaise. And I charged back to the fridge and slathered it on there in the most disgusting way possible. Way too much mayonnaise per bite, but so
impossible.
Freaking good. I was dipping my French fries. I have never dipped French fries in mayonnaise before.
It was delicious.
Oh, I love French fries and mayo. I love it.
I like it if it's flavored mayo. These are also delicious without having fried it up, as I can tell you. And one of my kids, I had one piece and then one of my kids finished off the rest because he was like, this is like so good.
Yeah.
And the other one he doesn't like eggs, so he wasn't willing to. Well, he did taste it. He took a bite, but then he was like, no, it's too much egg for me. Yeah.
I like how resilient it was to being stuffed in the fridge. I kind of forgot what I was getting and I was just kind of so flustered that I was like, and then I saw there were instructions with it and I was like, nope. My brain just kind of popped. So I tossed it. I know.
But you know what?
Fry it up in a pan. Tough stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't detailed and difficult.
It was, oh my God. So I received it and was like, great, thanks. And was like, oh, there's instructions. I can't do this. So I shoved it in the fridge. And then when I took it out, I was like, oh, bread never does well in the fridge. Damn it. I hope I didn't ruin this because sometimes bread gets soggy or it can get dried out and stale. Man, butter, fry. It was like, it was brand new again. You could make that ahead of time, fry it up. And it's like you instantly made this amazing thing. I think I'm going to try and experiment something with the focaccia in this because I still remember Paul saying
that was another great suggestion.
That would be good.
And I love the tomatoes in there.
Yeah.
I really loved the little pop of every once in a while, like even my son noticed.
That
He's
freshness.
Like, oh, there's a little piece of tomato in here, Mom. Have you tasted that yet? And I was like, oh yeah, it's so good.
I didn't get a strong crab flavor.
Okay. It's probably because I put that lemon in it as well.
And I was kind of hoping for that because I love crab. I don't think you need to alter the flavor of crab at all, ever. Just eat it as it is. So good. Yeah. And the lamb, I don't like. To me, there were so many different flavors and things in there that all went together so well that you wouldn't be picking out that this is lamb or this is some other kind of meat or like it just all works together.
Yep.
So good.
This takes no time at all. Nothing. This is again another snack or a quick dinner.
Yeah.
It's like making eggs. It's like the quick thing you do when you got no time.
Exactly.
Just throwing in a little extra stuff.
This is perfect.
Awesome.
And anything out of your fridge. It doesn't have to be lamb and it doesn't have to be crab. Go make it. Some Roti Johns from Singapore.
Yay.
Singapore recipe.
Thank you again to Paul. That was really awesome to have him.
Thank you so much, Paul, for that. That was fantastic. And it was a great conversation with you.
Fun canvas to play and explore on. I really liked it.
Totally.
And now for the fine print. We at Three Kitchens gratefully acknowledge we are telling these stories in the traditional territories of the Treaty 7 nations in southern Alberta and the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. We honor the rich tradition of oral storytellers on this land who have come before us. You can find pictures and recipe links on Instagram and Facebook at Three Kitchens Podcast. If you like and subscribe on your podcast player, that helps more people find us.
Hey John, pass the roti.
My name's not John.
Whatever. Pass the roti, John.